Hello, hello, and today we are here with Lloyd. Lloyd is a community member of NoCode-X, and Lloyd had an awesome idea actually. Please, Lloyd, tell the people at home about your idea.
Of course. So I previously had built something on a no-code platform that wasn't going to scale. So I needed another platform to build it on. So the whole idea is that I'm a qualified hypnotherapist and life coach, and I wanted to be able to give people the opportunity to be able to create audios that they can listen to, a bit like hypnotherapy CDs, that kind of thing, but that are totally bespoke to them. So the app itself has a front end and a back end. The front end is the user interface that we're going to be rebuilding through this on NoCode-X, and that's basically how the user can input the required information. There's an AI element that helps the user to create the required inputs, and then those inputs are then sent off to a back end to create an audio. That's essentially it. There's a few other things in there as well. So the back end randomly chooses audio backgrounds and this kind of thing, which is a technique to stop the brain from becoming too used to like a CD that you would have played back in the old days. So that's essentially what we're going to be rebuilding here.
Okay, very, very cool. Sounds very nice application to work on. So let's dive in. You shared with me, Lloyd, you shared a Google Doc with some explanations on how the application should look. So maybe we can take a look at that. So we have here the sign up page or the registers page. So there should be some kind of user registration. That is correct. Yeah. So this is the sign up page. Then you'll need confirm or email confirmation, of course. And then you'll have a simple login page for your application. And the first thing that I notice is this is a mobile application. So we'll be designing it for mobile screens first. So I think we can put in some elements of the right side here in the just to see, for example, these things. I think we can use the AI generator to generate some cards for us, so we can use them right away. So that might be fun. And then we have a chat. I think it would be interesting as well if we can integrate this one into NoCode-X. That would be interesting to see. And then we have some questions or some grades based on the chat. And then the user can click on the belief to select the number for grading negative belief. So user grades those belief, as you said. And then this, I see we have a credits, an amount of credits. So we'll have to take that into account. That's going to be interesting, yes. And then there's some need to play some audio, of course. And I think we can do that with the HTML component in NoCode-X. So yeah, I think we can start building this. I suggest that we start with the login, everything that's needed for the login and the user registration, and we'll move from there within NoCode-X. So yeah, we're in NoCode-X at the moment. I set up a brand new application which has nothing in it, or nothing but the 4 templates that every application gets, and it has no action. So we really start with a clean slate. So let's maybe start with a page to log in. That might be interesting. So all you have to do actually is create a new template. So you open up the template overview by clicking the the button in the left navigation, or using Alt-T if you wish. And then you hit create to create a new template. And let's call this template the login page. And the language is, of course, English. So let's go ahead like this. Now we are designing a mobile first application. So the thing about this screen that you have to remember is there is a difference between selecting elements on the screen or selecting elements that you've put on the screen. There are two tools, and punning actually the punning the page into place like this, for example. There are two tools, and it can be quite annoying if you're designing a screen to switch between these tools. That's why we have a hotkey that you can use to switch. So if I have the select tool selected, I can use Shift to switch to the punning. That will make it much more faster. So that's just a tip that I give. I have heard from people that find this very annoying, but once they use the Shift button to switch between those two, it becomes a bit easier. So the thing that I wanted to tell you is we're designing a mobile first application. By default, we always have, for new templates, we always have the all screens view open, but you can open up the mobile view as well. And in this case, I might even hide the all screens view altogether and start designing for mobile and see where we get from there. And if we need anything in particular for another view screen size, we can check the all screens and try to design it for that. There is a zoom functionality right here, but you did not see me use it, of course. The third mouse or the mouse wheel you can be used together with holding the control on your keyboard, and then you can zoom in and out. So that's way you can like move around with in the template editor, so to speak. Voila. One thing that I also have to tell you guys is every template that you create within NoCode-X by default has authentication switched on. That means that you have to authenticate to be able to actually use this page or use the part of the page that you're building. So because this is a login page, you don't have to be authenticated to start using the login page. So I'll have to switch this off real quickly, so like this. And then something else that I forgot before we start is, or maybe we could do it after, but it might be interesting to do it now, is the design system. So every application within NoCode-X can have one active design system, and this contains the default colors of your application. And most of the elements that you drag and drop on your pages, or the UI elements, they use this design system. Voila. So we might want to switch it to another color scheme. The thing is about this design system, it also makes it very simple. If you like choose a color scheme and you're not happy with this color scheme afterwards, you can just alter the design system and all the pages that follow along with this new design system. So if you choose to change your primary color, this will be changed throughout all the pages that you create. So Lloyd, let's just use the default design system, and let's change it afterwards. So as we have seen with the in the Google Doc, we need a background and a card with a login with a login form, and then a forgotten password, and above it should be a logo. So let's go ahead and design this within NoCode-X. So you have absolute positioning. What does that mean is that you can put elements nearly everywhere on page if you want to. So for example, if I add an email field, which is a field that allows the user to put in an email, I can put it just about anywhere that I want by just dragging and dropping it. Now, that's not for a form, most of the time, that's not particularly the best way to design this form. Most of the time you want to stack form fields underneath each other. So that's why we have what we call in NoCode-X vertical lists. If you want to stack UI elements underneath each other, and if you want to stack them beside each other, we have something that we call horizontal lists. So let's start with a vertical list. So I have my vertical list right here, and as you can see, you can barely see it, but there is a slight distinguishment between this vertical list and the background. So you can see a small border right here. Let me switch off the borders. This is an interesting panel as well. So all borders of all UI elements are by default visible, but I can switch them off so I can only see the selected UI element like this. And I like to work like this. Other people like to work by having them on visible all the time. Now, another interesting part of this thing right here, this eye right here, is the center button. And if you ever lose your way within this screen and you can't find the page that you're building on, just hit the center button right here and it will centralize the page right away for you. So you would not lose your way anymore. So we have our vertical list. Let's size it correctly, because I want to have it span the entire page. So by default, it is 300 pixels wide and 300 pixels high. You can change the unit right here. So I want it to span 100% of the width and 100% of the height. So it will be the complete page, actually. So let me just do this. And let's do this as well. Oh, it's not 10 pixels. Voila. So now it's as big as the page is, but of course I have to position it correctly because I want it to start from the top and I want it to start from the utmost left corner as well. And for that I have these X and Y properties that I can set. So this one starts at 30 pixels from the left. So as you can see, this vertical list now starts at 30 pixels from the left and 294 pixels from the top. So as you can see, there's a gap here between the top and the vertical list. So let's just put that to 0 as well. Now, the interesting thing that you might have seen happening, Lloyd, is that these letters here became yellow. And that actually indicates that there is another value for another screen size for this UI element. So if you hover over this letter, you will see that value, in this case for the all screens screen size, and I can just easily hit the reset button and then it will have the same value for all screens. So let me just do that for these things right here. So now we have our vertical list. By default, a vertical list has a background that is attached to the secondary background color of your application. So let's leave it at that. And by default, it also has a border and it has some rounded corners as well. Let me show you in a bit of a more brighter color so it can be more easily seen. Let's just choose primary like this. And as you can see, there is a blue border right here. That's the default setting. Of course, you can just reset this default setting anytime, and then it's just gone. And then you can start doing whatever you want to do, of course. So let's start by adding the image, the logo. So I find an image component on image element in the element picker, and I just drag and drop it into place. The next thing that I want to add is the little box that will contain our login form. So I I'll just do it by adding another vertical list in the first vertical list that I've added. So that's that. And then I want to add the forgotten password link. And that's just nothing more than a link that I'll add underneath the box. So that's the start. So first of all, my image, in the example that we've seen from the login page, is not that big of an image. So it's just a logo. So I'll have to resize this as well. This time I'll choose pixels as my unit for size, and I'll choose 70 pixels high and 70 pixels wide as well, like this. And now again, I'll have to reset this to make sure that it's the same size on each screen that that I design for. Now, as you can see, this image is aligned to the left of the root vertical list that we created. We want to align it in the center. So every vertical list that you have has some settings that you can set on the items within that vertical list. So you can select this vertical list, the correct vertical list, and then open up the items panel in the style tab of this element. And here you can choose two interesting settings: the horizontal alignment and the vertical alignment. And I think we want to set them both on center so that we have a nicely centered page. So that's that. And then the link, of course, is still centered to the left. And that's completely because the link just spans the entire width of the vertical list, because it has a width of, if I'm not mistaken, 100%. So what I can do here is I can make this a bit smaller, or I can make this link have a dynamic width, dynamically based on whatever is in the link. So whatever is the content of the link. So and the way that I do this is I just change the unit to fit content, and this will make sure that this link is as wide as whatever text is in this link. So at the moment this is link. We will change this later. So as you can see now, it is centralized already. So that's good. Then we can start, we can add our logo. So I can click this link to pick an image. I can, of course, also add an image straight from an URL, or I can just copy paste some SVG code right here, and then the SVG will be shown. But today we'll just pick an image from our media library. Our media library pops up, and we can, of course, there's nothing in it at the moment, so I'll have to upload some the logo of Mindshift audio. So let me just hit create right here, and then I'll pull this logo. I'll hit browse files, and then I'll just select the correct logo. If I now hit save, then the logo pops up, and if I go back to the page, we'll have a logo on our page right here. So the next thing that I want to do is I have my vertical list. If I'm not mistaken, let me just quickly go and check the login page. I have a title, a login title, and I have two fields and a login button. So let's add that. I can just search for title. I can drag and drop it in the inner vertical list. Then I'll need an email field for the email address of the user, and then I'll need a password field for the password of the user, like this. And I'll need a button. Just drag and drop it into place, and then I have my button right here. So we can change the title of this title field as well. Let me just switch off. No, borders are switched off anyway, I think. Let me just switch it off again. There it is. Yeah, okay. So let me change this title to login. And then by default, email fields do not have labels nor placeholders. The difference between a label and a placeholder is really simple. I'll show you guys. So I can add email, and a label is something that is inside the field, and in within this field, if you click it, it will hover over the field just like any other input label as well. The difference between a placeholder is just something that is in the field, and if you click on the field and start typing, this will completely remove the placeholder. So it's up to you what you want to use. I think you can use both as well. So if you like this, the label is then visualized up until you click, and then the label and the placeholders are visualized, and then once you start typing, this is the placeholder is completely removed. I think in this case we will just want to use the label, and we'll do the same for a password field like this. So as you can see here, there is also a blue border, just like the button is blue. These all follow the design system. So if I just check out the color of the button, you will see that it is it's set at primary. So if I change the color in the design system, this button's color will also change along. And you can also see that if I fill something in the email fields, by default, you have validation on the email address. So you don't have to worry about any validation as well. And by default, also, you will have circles instead of your plain viewable password. Okay, so we have, yeah. That's a good question. There is. So we can actually enable show hide password icon. So as you can see here, all you have to do is switch this toggle, and then you'll have this eye icon that will allow you to show and hide the password. So that's a really simple thing to do. So this login title is a bit big, so we can put it make it a bit more smaller to be aligned with the screens that were in the Google Doc. So what you do is you always you select the UI element, then you hit style, and then you can open up font. And there you can choose your font. I don't know, Lloyd, did you have any font in mind? What's the name? I didn't understand it. Mulish. Okay, let's pick Mulish, and then let's decide on a font size, maybe 24 pixels, something like this. Let's just put pixels right here, or is that too big, Lloyd? Maybe 18 pixels, like this. And then maybe we can center it as well, so it's a bit centered, just like the other things on page. So I think that looks good. What do you think, Lloyd? All right. So that's that. We have our email field, we have our password field, and we have our button. Let's change the label on the button as well. So we can just change it to login. And I can do some stuff. I'll talk about this later. This is also very interesting. I'll talk about this in a minute. But what I can do is I can add an icon as well. So maybe let's do that. The icons that you can filter through are all Google font icons. So I think I can find some icon that resembles some sort of login. And then I can choose which position that I want this icon to be in. If I want it to the right, I can put it like this, for example. Maybe we also want this button to have a little bit more rounded corners, such as just like the vertical list that we have here. So rounded corners are a very simple thing to do. It all boils down to putting in a border radius. So that's the amount of pixels that the border will be rounded. This one on the vertical list is by default set to 12. If you want a bit more rounded corners, you can adjust this any way you want. If you want some a bit less rounded corners or no rounded corners at all, you just put it to 0. So I'll keep it at 12 at the moment, and then I'll also change the border radius of this button, and I'll put it at 12, so we have a consistent a rounded corner for this button. So the next thing that I have to do is I have to change the label on this link. I'll just change it to forgotten passwords. And this is not an external link, so we'll just put a hashtag right here. And the target is also not the new top window, it is the current top window. The target actually tells, lets you configure how the link will be handled when the user clicks it, if it opens up a new page in the current window or it opens up a new tab with the new page. So that's what you configure right here. So of course the forgotten password link is a bit big, so let's maybe also put it a bit smaller. Let's choose like 10 pixels right here, and let's change this to mullish as well, like this. And maybe if we hover over this link, we also want it to be link-like, so we want maybe to underline this link as well. And the way that you do it is every single panel in your style tab that you open has a normal setting, but it also has an on hover setting, and based on which kind of UI element that you're working with, it can have an on focus or an when active setting as well. The idea behind so the normal is what you always show. The hover is the styling that's being used when the user hovers a certain element, and the on focus is the styling that's being used when the user is actually clicking, has clicked on the email field, for example, and starting typing. So you can use another styling at that point in time. So and with regards to the link, we'll just change the on hover styling here, and we'll just try to add an underlining, so a text decoration. So we'll make it underline. So as you can see, it now becomes bigger and it gets a line underneath it. So let's just change that to 10 as well. So we only have the line right here, and I think we are getting still something different. So let me just check the line height, or maybe it's the style. Let's see. Or maybe it's just the line that's being added. We'll see later. So that's that. So now we have our our line underneath this link. What we also can set is the cursor, which will make sure that once the user hovers over a link, that the cursor is changed, and we want to set it to pointer, which will make the cursor change into a little hand or a little finger, so that indicates that you can click this this link right here. So we can't see it in the preview. We'll check out the actual application in a second, but I think we are quite good on our login page at the moment. Or do you want to add something, Lloyd? All right. So let us test it out. Let's see how it looks in the application. So I think I already switched off authentication check, and then all you have to do is run this page. Now, some people are getting confused about the fact that there are two play buttons on the page. So you have your run the page play button, this actually means we run this page, the current page that you are working on, and this one is actually opening your application in the home page that you've configured on the different environments of NoCode-X. So I'll just use run the page in this case, and as you can see, we have a fairly broad login page at the moment. So I'll just switch my screen to mobile view, and as you can see right here, it depicts the login page that we've built just now. I think there are some things that I have to fix. Yeah, we're building this on development right here, so there might be some issues with some things that we'll have to fix right away. But we'll do that along the way, so the pages come out correctly. So let me just reload this page right here. Yeah. So okay, well, this is our login page. Maybe what we can do next is set the default background color. If I'm not mistaken, this was a bit pinkish. I think I can grab this color from one of the pages that I've been building real quickly. So we'll have this exact same color. All right. If I can find it. Here it is. So if I now change the secondary background color in my design system like this, oh, that's the wrong copy paste, then this will change. And if I go back to my login page, we will have a pink background, and then I can set this vertical list to another background color being the primary background color, and then it will be more white. So let's fix this real quickly. We have an placeholder for bird, and then we'll have a font like this, and I think I changed it to 12 pixels. Voila. Or I think I did 14 pixels like this. So voila. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, there it is. There it is. So we have our login page, and there were some things that apparently did not save correctly. So we'll just do them again. So like this, and then the forgotten passwords. And if I'm not mistaken, this will now get okay. This is better. So now there is another interesting part that I want to talk about when designing pages. You've seen me set the width of this link to what we call a fit content, which makes this link be as wide as whatever is inside it. This can be used for every element within NoCode-X. And as you can see here, there is a bit, so you have your form, and there is a bit of a gap between the end of this vertical list and the end of this form. And that's because the height of this vertical list is set to 300 pixels. But it might be interesting for you to change it to fit to content, so it will be nicely aligned with whatever is inside the form. So now when I like add something to this form, for example, if I wanted to add another link inside it for example, my privacy policy, this form, the white card, so to say, is aligned exactly with whatever is inside it. So that makes it a bit easier for you to design your pages and keep them consistent throughout your application. Voila. So let me just quickly change the change the these things right here. So on hover, we need this to be underlined, and we of course need the cursor to be set as not progress but pointer, like this. So voila. If we now test our page, we'll have a nicely a login page that we can use to log in like this. Okay. So that's our first page right here. We can go, we can make this login page immediately operational. So let's do that. The thing that you have to do to make a login page operational is, well, first of all, you have to understand that your user database, which is built into NoCode-X, is on the level of your workspace, which actually means that the users that are in your user database can have a single sign-on experience for all the applications that you built within NoCode-X by default. So all you have to do is just set up a login page, and that'll work. So they can use the same login page, the same email address and password to authenticate to all the applications that you built within NoCode-X. In this case, of course, we'll only be building one application. Maybe in the future, we'll be building more applications for Mindshift. But at this point in time, we will be building one. But that actually means that authentication settings, so everything related to the authentication flow, can be configured on the workspace level. So you have your application selector, and next to that, you'll have your workspace selector. And if you hit that workspace selector and then hit the edit button next to the workspace that you are working in, you will have all the settings, you will arrive at all the settings of your workspace. So here you have your general info, such as your name of your workspace, the developers working within your workspace, your usage of your workspace, and everything related to the authentication. And what you have to do here is you have to select which application that you want to be responsible for your users to authenticate with. So in this case, we'll use Mindshift Audio. And if I'm not mistaken, and that's a bit my fault, I have two Mindshift Audio, so I hope I'll be choosing the correct one. So after you choose the correct application, you can choose here within login page, you can choose which template in your application that you want to use as a login page. So in my case, I just called it login page. And you have several of these settings that you can do, for example, for the reset password page, for the verify email page, and so on and so on. So we'll be doing that later as well. So that's that. And then most importantly, don't forget to hit save. So once this is saved, we can now start creating another page which is protected. So let's go and do that. And I'll call this page the root page. So it's very important that we know, I'll explain why I call this the root page once we start building it out. But first of all, we'll just want to put something on this page to make it recognizable when we test it. And as you can see here, there is authentication required. So we'll be asked to authenticate once we try to load up this page. So let me just run this page. And then as you can see, we now arrive at the login page that we've created. So this page is being used as login page as well. So then I can try and log in, but if I click on this button, I don't know why I zoomed in now, but if I click on this button, this is doing nothing actually. So we'll still have to configure this. So let's go on ahead into NoCode-X and let's configure what the button must do. So here you have all the freedom, of course, but most of the time, if you create a login page with a login button, you want it to log your user in or to authenticate your user. And the way that you add logic to buttons or to any other UI element is through what we call action triggers. And every UI element has its own set of action triggers. For example, this email field has an action trigger that is called onChange, which triggers a piece of logic whenever the value of this input field changes. And then this button has, of course, an on-click action trigger, which triggers the logic whenever this button is clicked, of course. So you can attach as many actions which will contain your logic as you want to this button, and they will all be executed whenever this button is clicked. So I have no... Yeah, Lloyd? Exactly. Exactly. And that's why for this exact reason, Lloyd, we did not create a button that just has the login baked in, because we want to give the freedom of authenticating a user, but also sending out a mail and doing some other things besides just login in. So we want it to be expandable for every developers that's working within NoCode-X. I also have to tell you guys, I did not mention this before, maybe I should have, but everything that we're doing right here can be achieved within 5 minutes by just installing a plugin. So we have a plugin which is the vanilla login plugin, which has all the login screens that you need, such as forgotten password and such as email verification, stuff like that. But I wanted to do it for this video. I want to do it from scratch because that would be very much more interesting for you guys to watch instead of just installing a plugin and waiting until it's installed, of course. So let's attach an action to this login button right here. So all I have to do is click this plus button, and then a new action is created and it's immediately attached to my button. So if I now edit this action, I can start editing my logic. And as is everything that we're doing right here is achievable in 5 minutes by installing a plugin, I could also just ask the AI assistant to generate this logic for me, but we want a little bit of a challenge right here, and we'll do it without the AI assistant. So as you might notice, is the action is actually a unnamed action. Every action that you create from scratch is always named unnamed action. And my tip to you is, don't leave it like that, because if you leave it like that, you won't be able to understand what your application does within 6 months. So you want to choose your names correctly. And the way that you rename your action is just by clicking this block right here, which is available, which is there in every action that you create. Just hit the info top and change it to login, for example, because that's what we want it to do. And then you can add a description as well. This action logs the current the user, or this action authenticates the user with the information provided in the login form. Now, why is this important? Well, as I told you guys, it's important to name and to put in a description, because when you are returning within 6 months, you want to know what this action does. but it's also important because the AI assistant uses the name and the description of these actions to know what it does as well. So if you want to use the AI assistant, my tip to you guys is put in a name and description for the actions that you're creating. Voila. Yeah, it's as long as it is descriptive, Lloyd, and as long as whatever you put in there describes what it does, that'll be perfectly fine. So you can use naming conventions, but don't use, like, for example, numbers and then expect the AI to understand what those numbers do. That won't work. But use. I'm a big fan of naming conventions. So that helps a lot with consistency. So yeah, by all means, use any naming convention that you wish to use. Huh? All right. Does that answer your question, Lloyd? All right, super. So the login, we named it to login right here. Of course, you can add some parameters and output. I won't be talking about that right now because we don't need it. What we want to do in this action actually is pretty simple. We have our login page right here. We want to read what is being filled in to the email field, and we want to read what's being filled in to the password field. And then we want to use these values to authenticate the user. That's what we want to do. So for reading whatever value is in fields, you have get value from functions. So how a piece of or piece of logic within NoCode-X works is you use all kinds of functions, you puzzle them together into a sequential flow. These functions will be executed sequentially, or the way that you put it up, or the way that you set it up, and that's your logic. So you have quite a lot of functions to choose from. I think we're at 400 right now, and there are functions coming every day. New functions are coming to NoCode-X. It has become so big actually that we will have to redesign this UX to make it better because we have so many functions. But we really want to give as much as freedom as possible, so there will be much more functions coming your way as well. So so as I told you, you have the get value functions, and these can be used to read form items from the page. So for example, here I have the get value of email input field, and I need the get value of password field as well. And I just drag and drop them into place like this. And then what I do is I connect the circles with each other, and then this will be executed in a sequential order. As you can see here, there is a number on this. This actually means that this block will be executed first, and then this block will be executed. I can also add another block, for example, and I can also link it to this one. This will now have the number 2, which actually means that it will be executed in this order. So you do the login, then it follows number 1. It actually gets the value of the email input field. Then it follows number 1, and then it gets the value of the password field, and then it goes back up and follows number 2, and then it executes this one. So that's how it works in NoCode-X. For example, if you would send an email to, I'm just thinking out loud, like services like Mailchimp or Mailjet, you could do an API call, for example here, and then this API call will be executed last as the last step in your process. Of course, I would not suggest to do it in here. I can give you maybe a better way of doing it. Maybe you would want to abstract away that piece of logic for sending that mail, for example. So you would create something like this: send an authentication mail. create an action like this. This would contain your API call, for example, and then you will be able to execute this action straight from here. So you won't make this action too big, and it will be much more readable as well. So, and then you can like rename this as well, because naming is everything in creating software. So you can just name this as send authentication a mail upon login, for example. So you recognize that immediately. And here you can also change the description, and if you hover over it, you will see the description of your custom description and function description. So this will execute whatever is in here. So as you have seen, these fields or these blocks are still red, which actually indicates that they have not been configured correctly yet. So let's set this up. So the thing is, what you have to do with the get value functions is you have to select the component of which you want to get the value from. So in this case, I want to get it from the email field, but your page could contain more than one email field. That's why you have to select it. So let's quickly go back to the page, and let's see here. This is called email input code, which is the code on every element actually has this field. And that's really the unique identifier for your UI element. So my advice is always change this code into something that is understandable as well, because you want to know which field is email input code and which field is password input code. Now, of course, within this example, it's pretty simple. We only have two fields. Email and email input code and password input code are clear enough, but for the sake of this video, I'll just change this to login email fields like this, and I'll just change this to passwords or login password field, login password fields. So here I use the naming convention of putting everything in caps and using underscores. You feel free to choose your own naming convention. So as you can see here, this is email login email field and login password field. And if you now go back to our login action like this, you will be able to select exactly which email input field that you want to use. And in this case, I want to use the login email field. Now, this selector here will only show you the fields that are on the page that is linked to this action. So you won't be able to see any other choices of fields besides the ones that are actually on the page that you are working on. So in this case, it is login email field, and in this case, it is login password field. So then there is one last thing that I have to do to be able to fetch the answer of the email input field. Is every function works in the exact same way, or it follows the exact same pattern. The function will read some data either from the field or from what we call either from the page or from what we call the variable scope. It will do something with that data, and then it will output a value on the variable scope. And then you can do other stuff with the value of that variable, with the value in your variable scope. And the variable scope can be seen as as a table, or maybe if it's easy for anyone, you can visualize it just like a spreadsheet where you have two columns. The first column is the name, and the second column is the value. And that's and what you do throughout your logic is you write things on that spreadsheet, and you read things from that spreadsheet. That is how it works. So what we have to do here is we say, okay, we select the element here, but we still have to put in a name for the value, to the name of the variable that should be in the variable scope as well. So in this case, I'll just call it a user email. So this is the name that will reside in the first column of your variable scope. And then, of course, whatever is in the login email field will reside in the second column, being the value of the user email. So, and in this case, I will call it user password. User password. There is a way to share values between actions. So I can show you. We had our authentication mail, for example, and what would be what would probably be a field that you would want to share with this action is the email that you captured from the input field. So what you can do is you can open up this the start blocks settings, and you can actually add parameters. And those are fields or pieces of data that this action can retrieve or can get from whatever is calling this action. So in this case, we would want to add a new parameter. We would want to use, for example, type email and just call it email. And then, of course, describe it correctly. And then what this would do is, and now we can immediately show you how you can use variables from your variable scope. I just added a block here, which is called write to application log, which just logs a log entry in your application log. We will be able to see that in a minute. And then you can choose here, which also has some settings. You can choose here to put in some hard-coded value. For example, I am sending an authentication mail like this. But you can also select something from your scope, and the way that you do it is you switch the type of entry, you switch it to scope, and then you can select something from whatever is on your scope. Now, there are some default fields always available to you on the scope. So, for example, whether or not the currently logged in user is anonymous and so on, or the geolocation of the browser, the language of the browser, and so on. But if you scroll a bit down, you'll see that I now have a field email on my variable scope, which I can use just by clicking it, and then it's linked. And that's actually this parameter that I've created. So every parameter that you create on your action becomes available in your variable scope. So now the email address will be logged to the application log. And let's just keep it like this, and let's see if we can get that to work. So the way that you then, just like I did earlier, you would share that data is you would also put in an execute action block. You would choose the send authentication action, of course, and then here you can choose which value that you want to add for this parameter. So in this case, I would want to select it from my scope. I would scroll down, and I would see that there is an user email field here on the scope. Now, why is it that you cannot see the password here? Because we write it as well to the scope in this block. Well, this is already being filtered for you based on the type of the field. So the type of the field that comes out of a get value of input email input field is an email, and the type of the field that of the parameter that I created in send authentication mail is of type email as well. So I can only choose fields from my scope that is of type email, or of type string, because that can be converted to an email, where string is of course a piece of text. So here I can just select user email. Now, if you ever want to fully visualize what is on your scope, you can hit this button right here, and this will show you all the fields that are on your scope and the fields that are usable in this field that you're editing. So I can just, for example, if this were still empty, I could just easily have opened this field, go to user email, and just use this variable. And as you can see here, user password is in here, but if you hover over this, it tells you that you cannot use this variable because the type does not match with the expected type. So I can just hit this button and it will be added as voila, as whatever that I want to pass to the send authentication mail. So now we have our email input field. We have our password input field. Now all that we have to do is log in the user. So I can use the function login for this, like this. I add it again in the sequence, and then I add values for email and password, which I select from the scope, just like I did a couple of times before, like this. And that's it, actually. Now, as you can see here, something that I want to explain as well. As you can see here, we have this arrow to the execute action right here, and then we have this arrow to the login. This one contains the number 1, and this one contains the number 2. If you want to switch those around, you can do that if you select the parent block right here. So for example, here, get value from password field, open up info top, and then just drag and drop it in correct order, and then the order of execution will change. Voila. So that's how you can change the order of the execution without having to recreate the edges or the arrows. So voila, this should log me in. So let's try it out. Let's go back to our protected page. So I called it root, and then let's run this page again. So we have our big, so that's better. Yeah, let me just make this a bit smaller. So we have our login page right here. I can enter an email address and I can enter a password. So Google or Chrome already did this for me. So let's hit the enter. So we'll still have to capture the fact that your password is incorrect. But let me just enter a correct password right here. And as you can see, we are now logged in. And if I put this a bit bigger, I think I can do it like this, or yeah. So as you can see, we are in, the message appears, and we actually are logged in right now into the application. So now I can, of course, create a logout button, and then I'll be able to log me out. So voila. So we've created our login. We created our login page, and it's actually functional already. So let's move on to the next step. Maybe we should create the registration form, Lloyd. So what we can do is we can put it above forgotten password right here. I think that's a good place. So let's also make a link like that. Voila. And again, it is a link that is in. We don't want to have it externally, and we'll put this also at fit to content for each screen. Then we'll also change a bit the size. I think we've chosen 10 pixels, and we'll center it as well. And then we'll also choose Mullish, voila, like this. And then of course we change the cursor to pointer. So now now we have our register link. I see that there is still some things on hover that we might want to get rid of. So like this, we just resetted it. Voila. So something that I also wanted to show is, I think I've seen it. Yeah, as within this example here, there is a bit of a gap between the logo and between the actual form, and there is a bit of a gap here as well. And we can actually change this gap, because this gap is a bit smaller than the one in the example. So every vertical list and horizontal list has, as I told you, has settings on the items, and one of those settings is also a gap setting. So this is actually 10 pixels. We can make it a bit bigger to like 25 pixels. Now the thing is, if I put it bigger, it will have a gap between each child or item of that vertical list, which actually means that it puts a gap right here, and it puts a gap right here, but it also puts a gap right here. And this looks a bit off. And the way that you can actually solve it is pretty simple, by just adding another vertical list as a child of the vertical list with the gap. You just get rid of the border and get rid of the background, and then you put in the links as children of that new vertical list, and then you can determine the gap between those links as well. So in this case, I'll also want it to center it like this, and then I want this vertical list to be to have a height that fits to content. I want it to have this height for each screen, and then by default there is also some padding on vertical list. Let me just get rid of these paddings like this, and then I can also make this gap between these links a bit smaller, even down to 0. So like this, for example. And the reason why there is still a bit of a gap here is because of the height of this link. I can also change it to fit to content. Yeah, voila, like this. That's a bit better. And this one to fit to content as well, and for each screen. So that's that. So we have now our register link, and we have our forgotten password link, and maybe now I want to have at least a little bit of a gap between those two. So like that. So voila, we have our link to the register page. So now let's create our registration page. So we can go on in here, register. We choose English as well. I'm as I'm doing this, I think I might be try another approach, because the registration page will want to have it a bit consistent with our login page. So what we can do is we can just go in ahead here and just take a copy of the login page like this, and just start changing this page. So there's a bit of an issue here with the sequence, but that's okay. So now I have my copy, and I can just start by first of all renaming this. So I'll rename it to register like this. I'll save this, and then this logo is fine. Of course, I want this to register a user. I want to, of course, ask for the email address and the password. Then I want to rename this to register as well, like this. This is still submit. And then I want this register to be changed to login, like this. And let me just go on ahead and see on the registration page. You also want to ask for the first name and the last name, and then you want the user to accept the terms of use. So let's add those as well. So first name and last name are just, you can do that with just a simple input field. So we drag and drop the input field on screen. We drag and drop another input field on screen, and we use a first name for a label right here, and we use last name for another label right here. And then we have our fields, and then what we need is, the way it works in NoCode-X is you can have users just authenticate with their username and password. And they do not necessarily have to confirm their email address. You have the choice of having them confirm the email address, and you also have the choice of having them set up multi-factor authentication as well. And this multi-factor authentication can be done through a one-time password with an authenticator app such as Google Authenticator on their mobile phone, for example, or by leveraging, it's a bit of a technical term, WebAuthn, which allows you to authenticate using biometrics, facial scans, or just a PIN code on your laptop. That's the way authentication works within NoCode-X. Yes. So the thing is, you create your account, and then when your account is created, you have the possibility to send out the email confirmation upon creation, or which is probably the preferred way, and I'll tell you why. You also have the possibility to send the email confirmation mail when the user is trying to authenticate for the first time. And the reason why this is preferred is because confirming your email address is a user action. So this is really something a user has to do. And you want to have these email confirmation links in the mail that you'll be sending. You want to have it for security reasons. You want to have it be valid for a small amount of time. Ideal is, for example, 10 minutes. And then the link is invalidated and cannot be used anymore. And when you do it, when the user is logging in, and then you give the notice from, hey, we've just sent you a mail, can you quickly verify if your email address is correct? Then the user can do that within 10 minutes. If you do it upon registration, maybe the user just want to register and to log in later, and then use this email validation flow. But that's the way it works. Email validation is one of the things that you can do within NoCode-X. Of course, you're not, as I told you, you don't have to do it. You can have a use case, for example, when you only have internal users, for example, that access the application. Then you don't really need email verification. And to add on that, the register page that we are creating right here, if you don't need a registration page for your app, you can also just manually create users for your application as well. As so in this case, I can just create a user straight from this screen. This is the email address, and I can just say, okay, but this email address is verified. It does not need a verification mail like this, and I can just put in some password and then say this password is temporary because this user needs to set up a new password the first time this user logs in, and then I can force OTP or force multi-factor authentication using the Google Authenticator application, or force WebAuthn, which refers to the biometrics that I've mentioned. So as you can see, you can do it all. You can actually register a user straight from within NoCode-X. You don't really need a registration page. But of course, for your use case, we need this page, Lloyd. So we have the first name, last name, email, password. I think there was also an terms of use to accept. So let's add this slide toggle on the screen. But as I can see here, you have a toggle, and then you have a piece of text which contains some links. So maybe we want to do it in this way. So let us add a horizontal list to the form. You just drop it in here. Now, horizontal list also has a default background. We'll just get rid of this, and a default border. Get rid of this as well. We can make it fit to content, and we do it for each screen. And as you can see, the horizontal list is now really small. And if I would remove the padding as well, it becomes even more, even smaller. It's just a line right here. And I can't even select it anymore, or I'll have a hard time selecting it. But what you want to do most of the time is put in a minimum size of the things that you put into fit to content. For example, I can say, okay, this horizontal list has a minimum size of 200 pixels. And once it goes above that, or once it has more elements inside this horizontal list, then you can grow according to fit to content. So those are the things that you can use as well to like design your page. In this case, I'll just put in like 20 pixels to make it easy for me to drag and drop stuff in here as well. So we have our horizontal list, and now what I want to do is I want to drag and drop a slide toggle inside this horizontal list. So I put it inside here. And then what I want to do as well is I want to have a little piece of text that I just drag and drop in here as well. So as you can see, we have our slide toggle, and I can again put the width to fit to content for every screen, and the height, or let's also put it to fit to content like this. And let's do the same for the text, like this, and then I have a toggle, and I have a piece of text right here, just like in this example. The only thing is this toggle is centered, and in our case, the toggle is on the top of this horizontal list right here. So the way that you center it is, again, change the item settings for the horizontal list, and you use a vertical alignment that is centered. So that's the way you do it. So the reason why I did it like this is because now you can add actually your text, test 1, 2, 3, for example. I won't be, I think this is a screenshot. I will not type over this text, but the thing is, you can actually change and add links and stuff like this. This is what you see is what you get editor. So you can add anything that you would want in this text. And you can also, of course, style it any way you want. Maybe it's interesting for us to put, again, use the font size of 10. Lloyd, I think I heard you. Do you want to say something? Okay. All right, great. So as you can see, also the slide toggle uses the primary color of your design system. So we'll be able to change that later on as well. Voila. I think we have everything. We have our registration, or we have our login button right here. We have our registration. So that looks fine. Then, of course, we want to name this correctly. First name, last name, inputs, input, and email inputs, and password input, passwords inputs, and then terms toggle. Voila. So how do you now go from the login page to the registration page? So let's open up this login page that we have built. Let's open up this link. Now you could put the URL in here, but you would have to change this URL every time you change domain name, or every time you for each and every environment in NoCode-X, which I might explain a little bit later as well. But you can also put in an on-click action. So you just create the action right here, and then you open up the action that you created, and then you call it, for example, go to registration page, like this. And what you can do is you can use the root function. Excuse me. Use the root function, which we have several root functions, which allows you to route to an external page, or allows you to route to the same page but in a different language, or just allows you to route to another page. So in this case, I want to route to another page, and then I want to select this the template that I want to route to, and which is of course the registration page, like this. So that's does exactly what it says. It routes the user to another page. So let's try this real quick. And I think I'm now, problem is that I'm logged in, and I don't have a logout functionality yet, but let's just let's copy paste this this URL, and let's just do it incognito, and then I should receive a login page again. So let's put this again into mobile view, like this. And if I now hit the register button, as you can see, I arrive at the registration page. So the image is not showing. Let me just quickly go in and fix this like that. Didn't copy the image correctly, so we'll have to just put in the logo right here, delete this URL, and then it'll be just fine. So if I just reload this page and then hit register again, we'll have our logo. So as you can see, we now have our registration page